All of these are streamed live so that anyone from the public is able to view if they would like. Excuse me. The last thing I need to do is just read through our hearing script. I think, Mr. Jecker, you've been through this before, but this will just basically cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump right into it.
Okay.
This is the August 31st, 2022 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220127. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing, unless a party has submitted evidence or testimony in the form of writing prior to this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to testify after the applicant had presented its case. I'll give Wes Menzel, the zoning plans examiner, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to the application, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statement, or to rebut that testimony. And then finally, we'll have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony. That's generally the evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who's not present at the hearing. In the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, I will do my best to troubleshoot those issues on the fly, but to the extent there is some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay, finally, I just need to swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, you need to be sworn in at this time. So if that's you, if you could raise your right hand, I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Great. All right, thanks, guys. Mr. Jeckering, if you're ready, the floor is yours.
Okay. I was hired by the owners, Daniel and Julie Krimer, to design a new garage for them on their house at 1534 Glen Parker Northside. They have an existing garage that's very deteriorated and falling down, and the owners wanted to upgrade that garage and get a new garage. And while they were doing that, they also plan to get an electric vehicle here in the near future, and wanted charging capabilities in the garage for that. And because of how the site was sloping, they also gave a priority of to try to maximize the south-facing roof so they could pack it with solar panels. The intention here is the solar panels will power not only the garage and the charging of their electric vehicle, but also do the vast majority of the electrical requirements for their existing house. So the solar panels are connected to a cable that runs into their house that feeds the whole house, and then the garage is fed off of a sub panel. So the house and the garage would be integrated into a solar collection system if this moves forward. So based on the parameters the owners gave me about solar panels and the garage and so on and so forth, I designed a garage with an asymmetrical gable roof design. What it did is it allowed me to maximize the slope facing the south, and it also eliminated a potential life safety issue if I went with a traditional symmetrical gable roof, and that because of the grade, the symmetrical gable roof was going to be very close to the grade in the back corner on the high side. Juveniles or kids could have been able to walk right up on this roof, so I didn't want to do the symmetrical roof design. The offset gable really resolved the life safety issue, and it maximized the amount of solar panels they could put on the house. I designed the garage and the gable end so that, in my interpretation, when I measured the height was conforming, and it was underneath 14 feet, or it was underneath 15 feet, which is allowed maximum. And I sent it down to the city for a preliminary review. Because I knew I was on a corner lot. I knew this height issue was a concern, and I was told that how the city was going to measure the height was to only use the upper gutter board and not both gutter boards in this analysis. And if you only use the upper gutter board, this roof measures out according to the city's definition of how you measure height. It measures out to 17 feet, 6 or 5 inches, so on and so forth. I didn't see it that way. The way I was measuring it, the roof was under 15 feet. So I gave the owners the option of doing a symmetrical gable roof and eliminating the amount of solar panels they could do. And also, we were stuck with this life safety issue, which we didn't have an answer for. So we decided to apply for the variance. And so here we are today. I'm looking for approval of this variance for what in my mind is more of an academic height variance versus a real height variance. I can do the symmetrical garage that's actually higher without a zoning variance. But this particular design, I need a variance because of how the city is measuring the height. I can go through drawings and do a screen share if you'd like me to, but I think Wes is very familiar with this. He wrote the staff's report. He somewhat agrees with me. And David, you're capable of reading drawings and the submittal, so I'm not sure we need to take the time for me to go through all the drawings. I am more than happy to, if either of you think I should. But basically, the community council has endorsed this variance, and I'm here today just to kind of hopefully confirm what I think should be an obvious decision by the city.
Sure. Yeah. I don't.
And I could talk as much as you want to, but I think that's probably everybody here knows what's going on.
Yeah, I've reviewed the application materials, so let's. I don't think we need to go through all of the drawings, and I'm sort of looking at some now, even as we speak. So why don't we give Wes an opportunity to provide any input if he would like, and I may have some questions and go from there. Wes.
Hi, David. Yeah, I don't really want to add too much, just to highlight that that doesn't appear to be any negative adverse impacts from the proposal. And the drawing on page 6 that shows the comparison of the symmetrical roof and the asymmetrical roof, I think is a really brilliant comparison to help tell the story. So I'll just highlight that.
So is on that picture, is the symmetrical roof? Is that right, Wes, that if it was symmetrical, they wouldn't need a height variance here?
Correct. The midpoint of that symmetrical roof would be conforming. And the peak of the roof is actually higher on that one versus the asymmetrical design, which is a good point to highlight. And we just measure the height on that upper portion of the sloped roof on the asymmetrical version. And that's why it's above 15 feet height. So it is a academic analysis, as Mr. Jeckering mentioned. But overall, it makes there's no negative impacts in my opinion.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else, Wes? Okay. Yeah, I tend to agree with both of you. As someone who is raising a son in this neighborhood, I appreciate the safety concern with the lower roof. I live right across the woods from this property, so I'm familiar with the property. I've reviewed the application materials, the staff report. Based on that and on the testimony that I've heard today, I'm going to approve the application. I think it's a great design. It's a great project, and it's compatible with the neighborhood. I also, just for the record, reviewed the letter of support from the Northside Community Council as well. So that was also a factor in my decision. I need to formalize the decision in a written opinion. I think, Tim, you're aware of this process. I'll write an actual decision out, and then with the approval, and then as soon as I finish that, I put into a PDF. I email it to you as soon as it's complete. So you'll have it really just moments after I'm done. As soon as you have that, you can work with Wes on the permitting.
Fantastic.
Great.
Yeah. I would just ask an academic question. Is there any provision for the city to, because this hearing cost the owner a lot of money, which they were having trouble understanding why we had to do it. And there's really no provision within the code or any kind of administrative direction on asymmetrical gables. I don't know if there's anything in the city code, but it would be nice to give some direction to the plan examiners that, maybe we should be measuring the entire gable and not just the upper portion of one gable. There's only one gable here to measure, and they chose to measure the upper portion of the one gable and not the whole gable. So I was just wondering, due to the amount of cost this incurred to the homeowner to do this variance process, if there shouldn't be something in the code to give the plan examiners a little more guidance with asymmetrical gables. I didn't want to get into an argument with people who said it was above code, but it's obviously a situation where, I don't think one should have had to done a zoning variance for something that seems so obvious to everybody.
So that's a good question. To make an official zoning code change, or to supplement the zoning code at all, it's sort of a lengthy process and has to go through planning commission and ultimately be signed off on by council. Not to say that it's not possible, and I'll certainly take note of this. We often, I'd say once or twice a year, will make some code changes. And I try to keep a running list of issues that or errors or Scrivener's errors and stuff that I see in the code as we go along, to try to throw into some of these larger zoning code changes when they come through. So this is something I'll make note of. In the meantime, I think it is discretionary. The zoning administrator, Emily A. House, I think does have discretion to approve this at a staff level. So I'm not sure to what extent those conversations occurred on this particular case. There is also, I don't know if this would save the client any money, but there is a hearing waiver process where you wouldn't actually have to go through the hearing, but instead get approval or letters of support from all the adjacent property owners. Here it looks like there might be only one or two. And so that is another option in the future that again, I know that that's not necessarily a time savings, but if the cost is actually having his architect come to these hearings, it may save some in that regard.
Sure, I understand. It was just a suggestion because as an architect, and I've been doing this for 40 years in the city, when you're forced to try to explain to a homeowner who's a layperson why we need to do a variance, and you put your case together, and they go, well, why do we need to do this variance again? And it's basically a thing of how it was measured height wise, and it would just be beneficial down the road and help the city's posturing with the residents to not get into situations like this, which seems like everybody's scratching their head.
Point well taken.
And it's much harder to write the rules than it is to interpret them. I know that from a fact. So I feel the challenge with trying to write something up regarding this. So
yeah. I think in close calls, the city has in the past tended to err on the side of doing a public hearing to make sure that any affected property owners do have an ability to come and voice any opinions, either in support or opposition. So it's tricky, but point well taken, and I'll certainly have some more conversations with some other folks about this in the future.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tim. I will be in touch with that decision as soon as it's finished. If you have any questions in the meantime or want an update on that, just email me, and I'm happy to let you know.